Hey guys, welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Andre Seegers, and this time we're joined by Derek Finner and Ash Paulson to finally discuss the Super Mario Odyssey trailer. So let's get started. Alright guys, as you probably know, because I've been complaining about it for weeks, I finally finished the Super Mario Odyssey analysis, which means we can finally discuss this game in depth, thank God. I've been wanting to, because I'm so hyped for this game, and I just wanted to talk about this game in general. So, I guess there's so much to talk about here, but let's go start off with our, surface level impressions, which we've already done briefly in our general Switch presentation discussion, but, that was a few weeks ago now, almost a month ago now, so we can do a quick reminder, and also how you feel about the game in general, being a month later, as well as in a post-analysis world, a post-hour-and-a-half analysis world. So, Ash, let's go start with you. What do you think about Super Mario Odyssey?
I mean, I was already, hyped for it when we saw it originally at the presentation, and I'm still hyped for it. Now, like you said, I did come across this, 90-minute, analysis done by this really weird guy who must have no life. He spent so much time on this analysis. No, your analysis made me even more excited, obviously. It definitely gave me context for things that, it seems like you're getting, kind of piecemeal in the trailer, just rapid fire, completely different scenes, but as you broke down for us, Andre, once you really kind of start analyzing things more closely, you see that really you can paint a picture of these, at least two of the worlds that we've seen so far. And, in terms of how everything is laid out and where everything is located. And, this seems to be very much the return to open world Mario. I say open world, but sandbox Mario that I've been waiting for since Mario 64 and Sunshine and Galaxy, really. I'm really excited that we're not getting another 3D land / 3D world type game. I think I said this in our initial, kind of reactions as well, but I think the main point is that I really hope that there aren't only 4 worlds. I don't quite believe that there could possibly only be 4 worlds, but your evidence is compelling, so we'll see how it all shakes out. But the worlds we've seen, I love how thematically different they are. I'm excited about the game. It's a new 3D Mario game. How could I not be hyped for this? Of course I'm hyped.
Yeah, I pretty much have to be in agreement with Ash. It looks amazing. This is the game that sold a lot of people on the Switch. It's nice to have Breath of the Wild, but we were already aware of that before, thanks to the Wii U version. But seeing the Switch handle Mario Odyssey just makes it that much more exciting, and people, I think, are going to be picking up a Switch just for this game because it does look that good. And a lot of people have been hoping for a return to Mario 64 era Mario again, and because that's a lot of people's introduction to him, or at least 3D games in general. So there is that nostalgia factor there, and it's great to see it return. And I'm very curious to see how they're going to update it. Are they going to have sort of a Banjo-Kazooie type thing where you can get all the stars in a level in just one go, or are they going to go back to the classic one where you got to constantly go back in? There's enough differences here that we can't quite match it up because we don't see a central hub. It all seems to be based around this hat ship, and curious where it's going there. But I'm also in agreement with Ash. It's you brought up a very good point about there only being 4 levels. But I have such a hard time that Nintendo would only go for 4 levels. The only thing that would make that kind of palatable is the fact that these things are massive, and some of them do look quite big, like the desert level. Mm-hmm. That place looks huge. So I don't know. I'm definitely hyped for it, but that 4 level limit potentially is whew, I hope they have enough for you to do.
Well, at the same time, I find myself thinking about the idea that there might only be 4 major dungeons in Breath of the Wild, but when you kind of pepper that with so much other gameplay content in other ways, that actually becomes okay. So, that may end up being the case here. Let's just say that you're right, Andre, and there are only 4 worlds. Maybe, there are those doors you can see in the Fruit Volcano world. Maybe things like that lead to, maybe these 4 worlds are the kind of hubbish worlds, and there are various entrances in these 4 worlds to other mini areas and things, other objectives and things that you can do. Mm-hmm. Of course, I'm just spitballing here, but I find it impossible to believe that there could only be 4 worlds and that's it. Even if there are these 4 main ones, they've got to branch off into a bunch of other different smaller areas too. They have to.
Okay, well, I'm gonna circle back around to that because I don't want to I don't want to bring this discussion down already, because this game is hype, okay, you guys? Jesus,
Yeah.
stop focusing on that. This game looks amazing. This game is what I've wanted for 20 years now, since Mario 64. And I know, so it's kind of funny too now, because Nintendo has, they straight up said this is a return to the Mario 64 and Mario Sunshine style of game design, which to me is weird, because for me, that divide could not be bigger between those two, especially at the time. But when you look back on it in hindsight, it's like, okay, I can kind of see how they're grouping them together now. So I'm still not entirely sure which of those are leaning toward, which they're leaning closer toward. Because Mario Sunshine is ultimately a much more linear experience than Mario 64. In Mario 64, you hop into a level, that world's your oyster. You can go wherever you want, for the most part, with a few exceptions. Grab the shines in any order, or the stars in any order. Where Sunshine is, you had to go one by one. You couldn't break that pattern. The only thing you could switch up was you could go to a different level if you wanted to, if you had unlocked it. But otherwise, every level was a linear progression. So that's why I'm a little bit hesitant. But I mean, aside from that, it doesn't even matter. But this game looks amazing regardless, because even Mario Galaxy, that continued the trend of making the 3D games more linear, and that game was amazing. So no matter where they end up on here, I'm excited for this game, because they are doing some different stuff here that we have not seen in a Mario game, not just in a long time, but forever, or I mean, in ever. Like we're seeing level templates they've never used before, like a city, which looks like a ton of fun, by the way. I just love, what I really love is like how many mysteries there are here. Like I have a list of points you can bring up once we're done talking about the game in general, and there is so much stuff here that doesn't make sense. Or I talk about in the analysis where I throw out ideas, what it could mean, how it ties into other things, but I just love just how different this game really looks. Like on the surface, it's a Mario game, but dig a little deeper, there is a lot of new stuff here. Like it's crazy. And that's why I'm excited. Like that trailer is one of the best trailers I've ever seen, period. And that came right before what I think might be the best trailer Nintendo's ever made, being the Zelda trailer. So we had two of the best trailers Nintendo's ever made, practically back to back, which was amazing to me. So I loved everything about this. I loved how, they showed off the 4 different level themes. I love how we see those different levels at different moments. Like some levels seemingly have a day and night theme, which may change how they play. I like how there may be a little bit more to the story, perhaps based on Peach and Bowser getting between Bowser kidnapping Peach, and then also there being an actual wedding this time, which reminds me of the old Mario comics from the Nintendo Power days, when actually that was the whole point too. Bowser's trying to marry Peach, so that's a fun little callback.
Yeah, definitely.
And then Mario's hat has eyes. What? Like he might be
right.
Maybe he can switch hats at the at the Crazy Cap store, which by maybe I feel like is almost a guarantee.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Even though we don't see any, we don't see him do that in the trailer. So again, another one of those mysteries. But yeah, what I'm getting at is this game is amazing looking. I love just in general, except for one thing which we'll touch on. This game looks great. Like this game looks like a next-gen Mario game. It still looks like Mario for the most part, but it also looks really good. You know what I mean? Like this is to me a clear advancement beyond 3D World, 3D Land, doing that style, and they're definitely taking it, to what I feel like a next-gen Mario would actually look like. So I am stoked, guys. I said before, Zelda Breath of the Wild is the game I was looking most forward to. I think Mario has eclipsed it. Don't get me wrong. That's not a slight at Zelda. I am super stoked for that. But the fact that I have a game, the fact that the Switch now has 2 games I'm super pumped for is, that just makes me more excited for the Switch in general. Like I cannot wait to get my hands on a Switch and then play Mario later this year after playing what might be the most hyped Zelda game since Ocarina of Time. So,
well, I mean,
Yeah.
when you say it like that, 2 games doesn't sound all that impressive. But when you consider how much you're looking forward to both of those 2 games, it makes it a lot better.
I mean, so a lot of people rag on the 64's launch for only having 2 games, which is absolutely true. One of those games, though, was a monumental moment in the gaming industry, inspiring countless games since, and that was Mario 64. So I'm like, you know what? To me, N64 had one of the best launches for me on a personal basis. And then you
Sure.
you throw Pilot Wings into that, which is also a great game, and So let me put it this way: if the Switch only gets 2 games, period, and there are these 2 games, while that would suck, I'd be okay with it because these games look amazing.
Wow, that is impressive. But you're right though. This is Mario in a way that's familiar yet different, and I think the levels really highlight that, because at first you're like, oh, it's while the city level feels completely new, it's like, oh, it's the desert level, it's the forest level, it's wacky level. But then you dive into it and you look at it, it's like, oh, the city level has Donkey Kong elements in it for some reason. This desert has ice all around it for whatever reason. The forest is all mechanical, and then the food is like polygonal. It's like, what is going on with these level themes? They're familiar yet so different and interesting that you really do want to explore. Like, I could totally see somebody getting into the game, getting into New Donk City, and just walking through just to see every nook and cranny of what that city has to offer. Take a look at the street signs, just follow along it to see what it has to offer, because that is a place that you just really want to explore.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to running around New Donk City and finding out what the street names are that we weren't able to see in the trailer, for one, and also just to see what other Donkey Kong references there are. Like, I still find it so bizarre that there are all these Donkey Kong references, or Donkey Kong Country references in New Donk City, and they're going all in on that, but we haven't seen any actual Kongs, and I suspect that we probably won't, but it's just so interesting that they're even drawing from that, that inspiration. But one thing I do want to say is I completely agree with you guys about the level themes. They take what are otherwise pedestrian level themes.
Literally!
Oh, wow, literally pedestrian level themes. And really, kind of change them up and switch them up with these kind of, like the upside down pyramid in the desert and things like that. And it's super cool. I will say the one level theme that I feel like I've seen at least a permutation of before is the mechanical forest. And the reason that I say that is because it actually immediately reminded me of Planet Wisp from Sonic Colors. Mm-hmm. The same red kind of, mechanical stuff, the girders and things like that, with like the overgrown forest around it. It very much reminded me of that world from Sonic Colors.
Well, it's kind of funny you mention that, because that's not the only Sonic, inspiration, or not inspiration here, but like Sonic vibe thing here. Because New Donk City, with the putting a cartoonish protagonist up against realistically styled humans, that evokes the ideas of was it Sonic Adventure or no Sonic?
Yeah, it could give me a major. Yeah, well, a lot of people are saying Sonic Adventure 2, which is fair, but I would actually say Station Square. It's really giving me a Station Square vibe from Sonic Adventure 1.
No, the weird thing is, so I guess this we can get a little bit negative here. As far as amazing this game looks, this is the one thing I've been hesitant on, is the fact that I think it actually worked better for Sonic than it does for Mario. Because here's why. Sonic is not a human. He's already like some weird, anthropomorphic animal. So he kind of
he's a hedgehog.
Yeah, I mean he just kind of he just naturally fits in. Like we've seen stuff of that nature in countless cartoons, games. That's nothing new. Mario is literally a human. He is a human, and now he's side by side with other humans, except he is like 2 feet tall relative to them, and he has these awesome looking cartoon physics, like his nose bouncing around, which look out of place in contrast to the humans. So that's the thing I don't get, because they have this overarching theme of what seems to be like juxtaposition or contrast or something with your expectations not with them inverting some of your expectations or subverting your expectations. So I don't know what's going on here. I'm wondering, is there like an explanation for this, or I suspect there isn't. I suspect it's throwing the world, deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. I would not expect an explanation for this at all. It is weird. You are totally right though that it works better for Sonic because we are so used to it over the years. Mario, I guess the best we can say, at least they didn't change his visual style for this level, sort of like Eggman in 06, where he was cartoonish, and then since everybody else looked realistic, they made Eggman realistic, and it's like, no.
You know what the obvious solution here? They should have taken the weird Mario sprite from Mario Maker and just made a realistic, they made a 3D Mario out of that. Then he would have, fit right in next to all these people in New Donk City. But no, I suspect you won't get an explanation. I mean, this may be venturing down a rabbit hole that none of us ever want to go down, but do we actually strictly know that, Mario's even human? I feel like his origin story changes with the way the wind blows. Sometimes it's Yoshi's Island. Yeah. Sometimes it's New York. I feel like at this point, Mario's like some weird crossbreed between a human and a mushroom person. I just feel like he's not. I feel like he's not a regularly proportioned human, and I feel like they're going with the story now that he was born in the Mushroom Kingdom. So maybe he's like a weird mushroom person.
We know that both him and Luigi were dropped as children, and they've been going. And we know they were like, look at all the crap that Baby Mario and Baby Luigi go through between Partners in Time and the kart games.
They're gonna be traumatized.
That's true. I got it. We can consider Mario a mushroom-human. A mushroom.
Oh god.
I'll be honest. Like on the one hand, it doesn't matter at all. Like I don't really care.
No.
Yoshi's Island is an amazing game. On the other hand, it does rub me a little bit the wrong way though. Like I'm one who I grew up with the Mario cartoons. Mario is from New York, specifically Brooklyn. They have totally screwed up his origin story since then, where he's like now 25 or whatever somehow. He was never.
That makes.
I mean, he's never really been a plumber. I don't know. Is he even a plumber anymore? I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm so mad that you reminded. I had forgotten that Miyamoto was trying to pass him off as 25.
Right?
Why did you remind me about that?
Here's the funny thing. I was just streaming Super Paper Mario when I got to the part where you meet Loveby, if you remember that character in the underwear, and she talks about how Mario is this old man, which immediately makes me think that he's like 35 to 40. But then you realize Miyamoto's thinking he's 25. It's like, how young is Loveby?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, now we could go on that for a while, but yeah, I think so. The whole contrast in the city is weird. It'd be nice if they explained it. I suspect they won't. But at the same time, I've watched that stupid footage over and over and over so many times now. Like it's basically forced myself to accept it now. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of past the point of even caring anymore. But yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see if they do explain anything of like what's going on in these levels and they explore the contrasting themes even more. One thing I want to get back to real quick though with New Donk City is, what the heck is going on there? Yeah, with all the Donkey Kong references that you brought up. I mean, it's even called New Donk City, which is clearly short for New Donkey Kong City. Like, I do wonder, like, is that going to be just another one of the things they don't explain at all, or if there is more to it? Because if you remove like all the signs from the city and ignore the name itself, there's no sign of those characters anywhere. Well, I mean, literally, because you're taking away the signs. But yeah, you don't see Donkey Kong, you don't see the other DK crew at all, and that's another crazy thing too, is we have characters here that is not just Donkey Kong. Like these are characters that have never been incorporated into a Mario game, in a mainline Mario game before. I mean, even Donkey Kong really hasn't since the original games. But these other games were all purely all purely Donkey Kong universe characters. So it's weird that even if this is the extent of it, it's really weird they had this level of crossover at all, isn't it?
It is really strange. Like, that's what I've been thinking, is just how, like I said earlier, I suspect that we won't actually see any one of these Kongs or K. Rool or anything like that. But just the fact that they're even bothering without even showing us these actual characters is really strange. It just seems like a really random time to do this crossover. I mean, of course, there have been various hints in the past that Mario and Donkey Kong both take place in the same quote-unquote world. I mean, I don't want to get too heavy into Nintendo lore and the Great Ape War and all that, but, the Primate Alliance. But no, like, there have been hints. Me neither. I don't even know. But no, we have seen hints in the past that, Mario and DK take place in the same, I guess, universe. So it's not unheard of, but it's just strange for them to choose to do this now and in this way.
Well, yeah, because they had the Mario and Donkey Kong games that have been going on forever now. But again, those references ended at what the original Donkey Kong was, basically. They even brought back Pauline for those games, so...
Exactly.
Which, yeah, I wonder if she'll play any role in this now.
Maybe she's one of the other side streets.
Yeah, could be, yeah.
That'd be something. But yeah, I mean, it is weird because it's mostly Donkey Kong Country references with it when it comes to the signs and stuff, yet we have the Donkey Kong original, like, platforms, those girders and whatnot. Right. It's like, what are those about? And why is this city above the clouds and it's just this one square with roads literally going straight down? Like, what the heck happened here?
So weird, right.
I don't even... All right, you know what? I figured it out. I figured out the story here.
Oh, man.
Pauline was actually so jealous of Peach, of Mario falling in love with Peach, she got so angry and she turned into a monster. Thus, Bowser. It all comes full circle.
Oh my God!
Bowser was Pauline all along. This is closing the loop, you guys.
Wow, man. Yeah.
Sorry, I just spoiled all of Mario Odyssey for you guys. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's crazy. I mean, it is kind of weird how this game. I mean, is this game going to fill out the lore a little bit more by like having these universe officially cross over now? I don't know. But
That would, I mean, given Miyamoto's involved, I can't imagine that would be the case.
But this is kind of like a new Nintendo we're looking at, right? Like they gave Zelda the whole new younger development team. Maybe they're doing something with Mario because this is a dramatic. I mean, they've pulled a complete 180 on the direction 3D Land and 3D World are going in. And in fact, I would say the entire 3D games. Like I've said, I can't remember what video I did said it in before. But like, I feel like there's a clear progression from Mario 64 to 3D World. You can see how the games become more linear and more like the 2D games over time. And this is a complete reversal of that. So, you know, again, kind of like how Breath of the Wild harkens back to the original Legend of Zelda. So, yeah, this might be a new Nintendo we're looking at. Maybe there will be a deeper story here, as I feel like it's kind of hinted at in the very little of the cutscenes we've seen, but, you know, it's impossible to say for sure.
I was actually wondering the same thing, if there might be more story involved, just because we have that whole cutscene with Bowser, we have these different worlds. Like, I feel like they have to provide some sort of explanation, and even just the changing of New Donk City from the daytime where there's no hint of the Bowser wedding at all to the night where, hey, all of a sudden Bowser's all over the place and Mario's making this assault at the tower and he's fighting this crazy boss and getting knocked off. It's almost like he's all of a sudden trying to get to the wedding in order to put a stop to it. It
does seem that way. Like, it seems very ominous. Like, you know, it's thundering. You know, there's like, you know, rain pouring down. Yeah, it does seem like is this like the final moments before the wedding where Mario has to run in and like I object. Object. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I definitely am getting a similar vibe. Like I was gonna say earlier that I got a bit of a Super Mario Galaxy story vibe in terms of just the epic quality of it. It just It feels like this is a more epic Mario game, and I don't, you know,
it's
I
literally
hesitate
called
to use
Odyssey.
the word dark. Yeah, exactly. It's called Odyssey, and I hesitate to use the word dark, but there is a bit of an ominous overtone, like you guys said, with the rainy, thundering night in New Donk City at night, and I don't know, just like that scene where it looks like it's the perspective from Bowser's hat as it hits Mario, and he's flown off the ship, and Peach is reaching for him. Like, I'm getting a very, you know, Mario, you must journey to the center of the universe to save your beloved kind of vibe here.
You know what's weird? I actually kind of, this is kind of such a weird thing to say, but when Mario gets hit by the hat and then Peach yells out, presumably after him, like, that almost gave me chills. I don't know why. There was something about the emotion in that scene. It's probably just me, just me having grown up with Mario for so long, but I don't know, something about that just really resonated with me. It's like, all right, even though it's a typical Bowser kidnaps Peach story, it seems like they may be taking it a little bit farther this time, and I don't know, I kind of like it. Maybe not, we'll see.
No, yeah. I think there's actually something to that, because, you know, like Mario can be silly, it can just be about saving Peach, but, you know, when they decide to go really into it and really make it a little epic, it actually gets really exciting, like we saw with Galaxy, and like we're potentially seeing with now, with this game. I don't think that's weird at all. Like, I think when they decide to make it dramatic and they decide to make Mario epic, it works. It's just they don't do it all the time.
Right, yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I will say I will be incredibly disappointed, though, if the last level is not wedding themed. I want Mario running across, like, some kind of crazy wedding level, like Bowser's castle decorated as if it was preparing for the wedding between him and Bowser, or him and Peach. It would, I don't know, it'd just be kind of cool, like you really are crashing his wedding.
Maybe that's where the food level comes into play. They're making a cake there.
Yeah, you got the location with New Donk City, the catering with that food level. Don't know what the forest and desert levels are doing, but whatever.
Yeah.
I wonder if we actually have seen the whole story, because Bowser
usually... It is possible.
What I mean is, like, Bowser usually doesn't seem content with just trying to marry Peach. At least in the 3D games, his goal seems to be more like world domination. I mean, in Galaxy, his goal was literally universal domination. So to go from that to, like, oh, well, I'm just going to try to kidnap Peach and marry her, that seems to be a big really downgrading those plans, those ambitions. So I'm wondering if him trying to marry Peach is only half the story. Like, I wonder if there's something more beyond what we're seeing right now.
Well, I guess that's where the rabbits would come into play, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Because we don't know what their role is at all, whether they're minions or whether they're, I don't know, maybe they're leading Bowser somehow. Like, we don't know. We've seen before, though, and like at least in the RPGs, Bowser doesn't always play well with others.
Oh, that's true.
That's for sure.
He usually has to be mind controlled. So what if they are like? What if that is mind controlling Bowser in some way?
Yeah, I mean, like, what if everything he's doing is just the rabbit thing? The rabbit enemies are actually making him do it, and though they are actually like you made a really good point in your analysis, Andre, about the Asian folklore about rabbits in the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if they come from the moon and they're really the true villains? They're actually controlling Bowser, or at least making him do their bidding.
Yeah. I mean, that's the fun thing. Like, anything is possible here. Like, we don't know. But I guess touching on the moon real quick, and I guess kind of ties into the possible 4-level idea. Do you guys think we'll be visiting the moon in this game? Just because I threw down the analysis, because that moon seems to be very prominent in this game, both visible during the day and night. The fact that there's different lunar cycles for it, and then it's in New Donk City's logo, and then you have the possible rabbit connection, and of course the Mario games have a history of rabbits as well, including being on the moon or similar things in Mario Galaxy. So. I mean, like, I would be very surprised actually if we don't visit the moon at some point, or if it doesn't tie heavily into some idea of this game.
See, Bowser's going to get himself a cannon and blow half the moon up, and that's what awakens the rabbits, and they go after everybody.
There you go.
Wow, you really, I mean, and yet another Sonic Adventure reference.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, you got to go that. No, I could see it happen. I can also see it being just an extra detail that means nothing. It really is a coin toss, in my opinion. But the rabbit moon connection just seems too perfect. It really does, and I honestly kind of hope that connection is that we do get to go to the moon and we get to play with moon physics all of a sudden in 3D. That would be really cool.
Yeah, if you can have like a little hint of Mario Galaxy and my Mario Odyssey, I'm totally down with that. So
yeah, absolutely.
Maybe it'll be like a 3D world type thing where once he finally goes to the moon, we'll meet up with Rosalina.
Yeah.
I mean,
cool.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I kind of do have an inkling, though. I do kind of have an inkling that we will be visiting the moon. Like at first, I thought maybe it was just kind of a cool detail, but the more I watch your analysis, Andre, and the more, like, I think the moon being in the logo for New Donk City is really suspicious, and the whole rabbit moon connection, I kind of, and the fact that Mario is riding a hat-shaped spaceship throughout the we assume it's a spaceship throughout the trailer. I mean, what's to say that spaceship can't actually take off into space and go to the moon? I mean, maybe that's the end goal. Maybe Mario spends most of the game trying, like Pikmin style, trying to get the components he needs to enable his ship to go to the moon for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, anything's possible. That's
it really is.
So I guess let's bring it back to the possible forward level thing real quick, just so we can put a bow on that, I guess. That is something that's seen get a lot of traction all over the internet. Some people can see the logic. Some people are like, why would you even entertain that idea? I wish I had now, in the analysis, made it even clearer, like, this isn't a sure thing. This is just, I'm just pointing out the evidence of why this could possibly be the case. My gut reaction, though, is that there'll still be more levels than 4. But at the same time, I think it's possible that there would only be 4. Now, some people are like, well, why would they show off all 4, every level in the trailer? Well, and my counter would be that, well, they only have 4 levels. They'd show them all off. Why? I think it makes sense. But, I mean, I think it's definitely possible there could be more than this, and I hope there are. But these levels are, as you mentioned, Derek, like, bigger than, I think these look to be grander than most Mario levels. And the fact that they do seem to change, like there could be an evolution in these levels. Like Mario Sunshine, when you boil it down, if I remember correctly, only had 7 levels. And none of them were as big as this. And most of them were considerably smaller. Like even the hotel level, that was a really small level. So I could see them having 4 levels that evolve throughout the game, such as potentially with those night scenes. Like New Donk City, as we also touched on, seems to change dramatically, where you actually have enemies now as opposed to the daytime where it seems to be really chill and there's only NPCs around. They add these crates around that seem to change how the level might play. They have they close the front door on the tower, so I'm guessing that's how you can climb it during the daytime, so that may not be an option during night. And we've only seen night scenes in 2 of the levels, so we don't know if it's actually in every level or if it is, how it affects the other levels, ignoring besides the desert level. So I mean again, anything's possible here, but I don't think it's impossible, and even if there are only 4 levels, which, I mean, again, I hope there is more, but, okay, like, if either way, I expect this game to be as long as a typical 3D Mario, so if they can fill out those levels enough to make up for that, that's fine by me. Again, Sunshine only had 7 levels, which is already half, or less than half, what Mario 64 had, so, I don't think it's unheard of.
Yeah, it's entirely possible, and the Mario 64 levels, when you break it down, aren't that huge. They felt huge at the time.
Yeah.
But they're not as immense as what we're seeing in Mario Odyssey. And I totally agree with Ash about how certain places you enter might lead to even more expansive places. And there's even kind of evidence of that in the trailer when you talked about that portion where Mario was going down that hallway towards what seemed to be a boss arena.
Right, in the desert, yeah.
Yeah, in the desert. And that doesn't match anything else in the desert. He seems to be in an interior somewhere. So I'd have to assume that, like, sort of like how you went into the pyramid in the desert in Mario 64, this might be a whole new section that opens up. And the desert's already big enough that you need to use that lion to get around.
Exactly. I should mention, too, real quick, when I say 4 levels, I mean, like, 4 main levels. Again, we think there's a good chance there's a moon there, so that'd be a potential 5th level. And then who knows, boss levels may not count because the Bowser section seems to take place in its own area, so who knows if, that exists as its own thing. Kind of like how, again, in Sunshine, you have the Bowser level, which I don't count as a full level, but that would be another level they can add to that tally, so...
I think what's really interesting to me about this conversation we're having right now is that for all that we learn from, this analysis, we really know almost nothing about the overall game structure.
We don't.
And that's what's most interesting. Like there are no power stars in the trailer. There are no shine sprites, nothing like that. So it almost seems like we could conclude that maybe the traditional collect 120 power stars model is out the window and they're going for something different here. Obviously, there are those purple collectibles that change from world to world, but we really don't know how this game is structured, and that's kind of exciting to me. Like, we really can't infer a whole lot.
Yeah, you're right, we have no idea at all. I mean, the only thing we've seen, really, is, for collectible-wise, we have the purple collectibles, which I'm guessing are, like, one-time things, like the purple coins, or the blue coins in Mario Sunshine. But they don't seem to be that primary collectible, like, stars or shine sprites. So the only other weird thing is, besides the fact we don't see anything else, is the checkpoint flags. We haven't had those in an explorative in a 3D sandbox game like this. They were introduced in Mario Galaxy 2, but the fact that they're also like lit up in with a column of light, pointing them out at a distance. It does. I didn't really touch on this in the analysis, but it does make you wonder they might be more important than they usually are. Like, do they do more than just being a checkpoint? I saw some ideas thrown out there, I think in our comments, that maybe that's where you start a mission, for instance. Like maybe missions are at the checkpoints. I don't know if I buy that, but like something of that nature, right? Who knows?
Right.
Yeah. It's really hard to say, like, what do those purple collectibles do? My own personal theory, and it could be completely wrong, is that's what you use to purchase hats at the Crazy Cap store. And that's why, you get a different hat at each Crazy Cap store, maybe, or you can just use them wherever. But it's really hard to say. Although I find it really hard to believe that Nintendo would drop the 120 star system. Because that's been consistent through it. The only other difference would be if they went for like the green star system from 3D World, but I prefer the power star system, honestly.
Yeah, I would too, but we also, we've been assuming that they have to stick with that model. They could just go in a completely different direction that we haven't seen before. So, like
Breath of the Wild style, right?
Yeah. This really, I think we've kind of, I say we as in collectively, all of us have gotten into this kind of pattern of thinking 3D Mario has to equal a Power Star collection mentality, but maybe it doesn't.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We don't know. So, that's what's kind of exciting. Like, this is doing something new. It's kind of like on a similar line. I think we have to talk about Mario's hat. What's going on there? Because at the end of the trailer, the pair of eyes pop out, confirming it's some kind of like sentient being, or there's a sentient being inside it or possessing it. I don't know. I threw out some ideas in the analysis. There's also that theory, which I also mentioned, that there's like a magic rabbit hiding in the hat, kind of like a magician. So that's another just a weird thing here that it's like, what?
It honestly does make the most sense to me that it would be like a rabbit under the hat, even though we don't see it when you toss it out. That's a little weird because, for example, we had a Luma underneath Mario's hat in the Galaxy games, and every time he did a spin, you could see it. You cannot see a rabbit under Mario's hat during any of the sequences where he throws it. So that definitely goes against it, but it makes more sense to me that a rabbit under his hat would be able to possess different hats, and based on the hat, that's why he gets potentially different powers. Yeah. At least that's the assumption. But if it's just the hat is alive, I'm not quite sure how that works.
Yeah, I do actually agree that I think you're onto something possibly about the rabbit or the magic rabbit, Andre. It is weird that we can't see it, but there does seem to be an overall rabbit theme going through the story. You got the top hats as well, like you pointed out. So it makes sense that it would be a magic rabbit powering up Mario's hat. All I have to say about that is, if that's the case, I will be so upset if there isn't at least one bunny ear hat, where you can just float through the air like in Super Mario Land 2. Like,
Yes.
that, if they're going with the rabbit theme, they have to have the bunny ears in this game as a power-up. Like,
Well,
they have to.
Along that line, I feel like there has to be some kind of flying power-up. I mentioned this in the first analysis. I didn't touch on it in the second one. And by the way, if you want to watch our analysis, if you haven't already, there'll be a link in the description below. Please check it out. Put so much time into that. But anyways, at one point in the latest trailer, you can see Mario put his arms out, like when he's running down the waterfall, like he's picking up speed, and it almost looks like he puts his arms out like a plane. And I pointed out in our first analysis, and I suggested then that maybe this hints at like some kind of flying mechanic. And I feel like there has to be the case. That has to be the case here too. And of course, the rabbit power up was you could fly with it kind of. It was more of a gliding type thing then.
Yeah.
But at the least, I do expect there'll be some kind of flying thing going on here. And they could still go the rabbit route and maybe have that change how Mario moves around. How he jumps, for instance, or something. I don't know. Just throwing ideas.
Maybe. It would also be a perfect opportunity to bring back the wing cap. Because that's never returned since 64,
and that's the best one.
Love that.
Love the wing cap. That's such a fun thing. Like, I mentioned that I had a top 5 video, like top 5 things I want to see in Mario Odyssey, and I want power-ups or the hats in this case to be fun. Presumably the hats. Make them fun. Don't be like the Spring Mario where you're like, do I really want to be a spring? I'd rather just...
Yeah.
And the cool thing was, I don't know if it's cool, you can just ignore the spring most of the time and just make it anyway without it. But
right.
Yeah, the wing cap was awesome.
One of my favorite moments in the trailer regarding the hat is, and it seems crazy that this hasn't been done before, that Nintendo didn't think of this before, but that simple motion of Mario throwing out his hat and using it as a makeshift platform to cross a gap.
Smart.
That is like the coolest thing, but also the most obvious thing. I'm like, how do they not do this before? Because as soon as you see it, it's like, oh wait, how hasn't he done that before? But I love it.
But it wasn't magic before Ash, that's why.
I guess so, yeah.
Although the Luma actually would make perfect sense for that, right?
Yeah, exactly, totally.
I think that's really cool. Like, I like how it adds new abilities to Mario without it feeling weird. Like, it does kind of make sense to see. It's like, wow, that actually somehow makes sense. Whereas, like, for me with Flood in Mario Sunshine, like, that felt to me like such a step away from what Mario usually is. Like, it didn't feel like Mario to me using Flood. So I think this is incorporated much better than that, for instance.
It's so cool to see the utility, because you can throw it out and make a platform, or you can throw it out and just use it as sort of like a vault to get higher. And I just love that little touch. And who knows, maybe you can use it against enemies as well. We don't know. We just, that's what's so exciting about the hat itself, is because there's so many possibilities they could go with, whether new, old, or something completely unexpected.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I've said it before with Zelda, I love being surprised. And that's what they're doing here. Like, I love being surprised. They're doing stuff I have not seen or expected in a Mario game. I might never expect them to go back to Mario 64's template. So I long gave up on that hope. So yeah, and again, based on the fact that our analysis was 90 minutes, I really like how detailed this world is. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, there was more stuff I could even brought up that I had to cut myself off at some point. It would have never gone done. But there's endless details in this world, especially in New Donk City, but even in the other levels. Like, there's so much to explore here and see and take in, and it just looks fun. Like, again, like, I even with the physics and how Mario looks, I love how he's even more cartoonish now, except when put up against the humans. That part still bugs me a little bit. But I like how he bounces around. His hat is jostling constantly. His nose goes in all kinds of random directions when he turns. It's just a fun looking game. It's fun. New Donk City. I love how that city looks fun just to jump around, like that. I want to go just jump off buildings and jump between buildings and climb up things. It really is just an urban jungle, which looks like such a perfect environment for Mario to be in. And
I love the new characters they have, like those Day of the Dead guys in the desert. They have the forks and the polygonal food level. It's just like, those are really endearing to me. I don't really have a thought about the Pianta robots yet, but those are Piantas, and there you go. But again, I love these character designs. They are just so cartoonish, which makes the humans stand out all the more when you have living forks.
I do love the forks.
Like, put the living forks next to the humans, and then that's even weirder than Mario next to them.
The forks are probably my favorite character that we've seen so far. I mean, they're such a Mario design. It's very in line with what Mario is so good at in terms of its character designs. I love the little, the bent prongs on the side to represent the arms. It's such a clever design. Mm-hmm. One thing that stands out to me about the characters, though, is less about who we have seen and more about who we haven't. And I know the Paper Mario and Mario & Luigi games have drawn a lot of criticism as of late for having really one type of character, and that's Toads. And as far as I can tell, I don't think we've seen any Toads yet in Odyssey, have we?
Holy crap, I didn't even think about that. Not a
I
single
think
Toad.
the fact we didn't think about it is kind of telling.
Yeah.
We've seen so many Toads now. It's I'm fine with them.
We don't even see like the standard red dotted Toad that's usually Peach's main quote unquote main retainer.
Well, so that kind of brings up a question of, does this even take place in like anywhere close to the Mushroom Kingdom or on that same planet?
Right.
I think Nintendo said that doesn't take place in the Mushroom Kingdom, but who knows? I mean, neither did Dinosaur Land and Mario World.
They said it does. Sorry, Nintendo said it does not take place.
I think that's what I'd heard. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, really, in general, there isn't a ton of classic Mario enemies or characters here at all. I mean, you have Mario, Peach, and Bowser. Then beyond that, we only really see Goombas and only in screenshot form. Then the Hammer Brothers, Spinies and Hammer Brothers, except now they're like Skillet Brothers. So, and I think that might basically, and Piranha Plants too, I guess. But really, a lot of this seems to be new, so.
Yeah, it really does. And, if we go back to, classical literature and Odyssey, the Odyssey is all about getting back home.
Right.
So maybe that's the goal of this, is to get back home to the Mushroom Kingdom, and that's why there are no Toads.
It is kind of funny how, along those lines, the piece Mario seems to pop up in what appears to be the first level in this realistic-looking city. It kind of drives home the message, this isn't the typical Mario world. This is something different and new.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. I'm just so stoked for this game. That's it. I have not been this excited for a game in a long time. I mean, because this is even more than Zelda, so I want it. I want to play it.
New Donk City is going to make an amazing Mario Kart level.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, that New Donk City has got to be a future Mario Kart track. That wouldn't surprise me one bit.
No, I think they actually make the streets two-way this time.
Yeah, that's a good point. But no, I mean, you really hit it there, Andre. I mean, I might not be quite as over the moon hyped as you are. I mean, that would be really difficult. Obviously, this is your number one game that you're excited about. For me, it's in the top 5, I would say. But obviously, I'm really hyped about it. It is. It's in the top. I mean, hey, we're in the same year as Breath of the Wild and Sonic Mania. I mean, come on, you gotta.
Okay,
you gotta get through it.
I respect Sonic Mania. I think it looks really fun. I cannot see it being in the same class as Mario Odyssey.
Well, I mean, I think classes are it's all relative. I mean, if you love 2D platformers like I do, then you're excited about Sonic Mania. If you love 3D Mario like you do, you're more excited about that. And I love them both. Sonic Mania just is scratching all the right.
This is something truly new in a similar vein as something we've seen before.
Sure.
Where Sonic Mania
that's true.
Is, it's essentially a reboot, right? Or remake.
Not really. I don't know if it's a reboot. I don't want to get too far off topic here. But yeah. But I mean, no. I'm obviously really excited. That's the whole point. Is that I'm super hyped, and I mean, and I was already excited, but our analysis gave me a lot more to be excited about. Like I said before, I think the main thing for me is, what is the setup here? What is the plot? Why is Mario in these strange new worlds? Is he? That was a great point you just made, Derek, about him getting back home. Odysseus is about getting back home. And that's a good point. Maybe that's what's going on here. I'm so curious as to why Mario is in this strange world. There are no Toads around. What's going on here? That's what I want to know.
I guess my final thing I want to bring up then is, just the final point I can think of, is the fact that there doesn't seem to be a true hub. A lot of people initially thought New Donk City was that hub, but it doesn't appear to be. It just appears to be another level. And as far as I can tell, it seems that it just seems like the airship is the closest thing to the hub, kind of like, as I mentioned, the face ship in Mario Galaxy 2, where you'll be running that level to level. And it makes sense, but I don't know how else there could really be a hub, unless there is just one central area that maybe evolves throughout the experience. But again, that wouldn't be your direct connection to the other levels. Instead, you still have to take the airship there.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back into what we just said about how we don't really know anything about how this game is structured.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think of is sort of like a home base for Mario that he can explore around and do other things, but otherwise you'd still have to go to the airship in order to visit the different places around the world. And I honestly can't imagine a huge hub in the same vein as Mario 64 or Sunshine. So
yeah, I mean, this is obviously going really extreme in the other direction, but for all we know, it could just be like a basic drop-down menu. Like the world map is a menu, and you select these different worlds, and the spaceship flies there and you appear in that world. Like, that's going too far the other way. I'm sure it's not that, but really, that's how little we know about how the worlds are structured.
I actually kind of expect something of that nature. I mean, not that simple, but like, a Pikmin-esque style selection screen where you see, like, you have the globe on the ship already, so maybe it's a 3D interface. You spin the globe, you pick the area you want to land on and land in, and there you go. And speaking of which, I have one idea for getting back to the 4 levels real quick. Some people have suggested that maybe those are only the 4 levels found on the same continent, for instance. And you go to different continents, there's different levels there. And, maybe anything's possible, so.
Yeah.
That'd be cool if each continent had a set of levels. That'd be... Yeah. I'm down for
that. Actually would be that. Yeah, I could see them structuring things like that too, given the whole world and the globe-trotting theme. So that's an interesting theory.
You did have to unlock the higher levels in 64. I mean, you could get them early on by getting all the stars, of course, but you did have to work towards them. They just weren't all available right at that moment. So it would make sense to have these levels available on this continent.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Any final thoughts about Mario Odyssey at all, or any final points you want to bring up before we wrap it up here?
I think the one thing I would say is the main reason I hope there aren't just 4 worlds is because this is a 3D platformer. I need my ice level. I know there's ice in the desert, but it's not the same. I need my snow world. So I that's what I want.
I do hope that we'll see more level combinations because I want to see how crazy they can get. That's my big hope for it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, but I mean, I can't wait to play this. I mean, I have to assume this will be playable at E3, and if you guys stick me in that damn room again and I can't get out and play Mario Odyssey, I might have to burn the place down.
So, I don't blame you.
So, yeah. I'm just really excited to play it and experience because this does look incredible from a gameplay standpoint. Like, I cannot wait to just fool around and see what happens, like see what there is to find and do, and see how Mario controls and pull off all these new abilities and what you can do. It's gonna be so good.
One of my favorite things I said before about Mario games, I guess maybe even games in general. I mean, not games in general, but I love exploring, and that's why Mario 64 appealed to me. I loved going around, seeing what all I could do, how to get this particular power star, for instance. And that's a sensation that I haven't really had since in the Mario game. I mean, basically since Mario 64. The exploration's always been a part of it, but they've really stepped it down since then. So that's partially why I'm so excited here. Like, we have these massive worlds in which you can seemingly go in any number of directions or any direction, and just see what's out there for you to do. Again, kind of like Breath of the Wild. That's why I'm excited for Zelda again too. Like, this is a game based on exploring. You can go wherever you want and see what you can do. So
yeah.
All right, so I think that wraps up for our Super Mario Odyssey discussion. So thanks for watching, guys. If you liked our discussion, make sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. You can find links to them in the description below, so we keep updating everything we post. And of course, make sure to subscribe to GameXplain for lots more on Super Mario Odyssey, the Switch, and everything else Nintendo as well. Catch you later. Bye.